Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host for today's broadcast, Insane Layer 13, as we're preparing to get underway for the second round of PTG's NASCAR series, going to be here at Miami. If you listen closely, you can hear rumbles of thunder in the distance, but this race should be dry. However, these cars were built and set up under nice, dry, and sunny conditions. This event is going to have heavy cloud cover, which means that track temperatures are going to be a little bit lower than what you normally would see. That's one thing to keep in mind going into today's event. There's going to be some other things to keep in mind we'll real quickly go into. But first, let's go ahead and look at some of the drivers who will be running in today's race here. So, for some reason, my paint schemes are busted for most of these cars all over again. I do apologize for that. But amongst our drivers, Beninsky is going to be back in the Toyota. Roachman will be in the Chevrolet. Roachman is actually Aiden Man, who has won a championship in Dino's DNS series a few years back in Forza Motorsport 7. TFB Matter is another veteran from that series. I can actually see his paint scheme. He's in the number 91 Red Bull machine. LilCESAR is back in the Mustang along with PTG Neb. LilCESAR's actually got the pole for today's event. A very unexpected scenario because it's normally Shredder, who's in a different Mustang, that normally wins the poles on oval events. NFL Racer 4812 is in a Camaro. Deet Speedman is in another Camry Toyota. Dino is running a Camaro. That doesn't seem right. That looks like a... Yeah, no, that's a Camaro. TJ is running a Mustang. PTG Jammer is in another Camaro. And PTG Speed is in another Camaro. Just trying to give you a bit of an idea. Not a lot of Toyota representation today, but the field is a little bit more evenly split between the Mustangs and the Camaros. There was looking like this was going to be a lot smaller of a field going into today's event. However, one of our drivers who did qualify for the event ended up being only able to qualify and backed out. That was Rock Morrow, who is also known as VER. Let me make sure I'm getting his name right here. That would have been, VER Rock, but it did not work out for him, so he ended up having to step away. However, the spot that he left ended up getting filled by Roachman and TFB Matter. Now, we don't know if either of the two of them will be able to run the entirety of the race today. Other thing to consider, today's event, we are looking at a car that is putting out 858 horses in today's event. So fuel is going to be burning very quickly here. That, in addition with the fact that the tires are going to be falling off and not a nice, reliable rate the entire time today, there is an anticipation that the tires are going to only last about 27 to 32 laps in the soft configuration, but there is a harder tire, which is the game's medium tire version, that is expected to last a full fuel tank in today's event. So keep that in mind. Just kind of some of the things that are going to be looking forward to will be the overall tire event. Now, as usual, us in the broadcast booth, we don't really have a way to tell what the actual tire choice that everyone is using will be in the event. However, we will be able to make our best guesses more than likely based off of what people's pit stop strategies are looking like. 151 laps to 150 actual laps for a 225-mile race, as this is a 1.5-mile circuit. Field's going to start getting lined up here, and 12 drivers are taking the field. We have a battle in the championship for both drivers and teams, but we won't really get into that until we get to race 3 of the season, so that way the field has kind of evened out and balanced out where their actual performances are. Okay, yeah, you can see the field gradually moving. At the head of the grid is the rail cam. At the head of the grid is the number 32 of PTG LilCESAR, followed by 64 of PTG Neb, then the 23 of Deet Speedman, the number 40 of PTG Speed, who won the Daytona race last week, then SRD Shredder in the number 10, and VERTJ in the 411 machine. After that, you get to Beninsky, who is in 7th in the number 11 machine, followed by Dino Prime 77 in the 77. Then you... Come on! Then you get to PTG Jammer, who is in the 43. And NFL Racer in the 53, followed by the two drivers who didn't qualify but will be running the 91 of Matter, and Roachman, who is going to be back in the number 13 machine. So we'll have 6 rows of cars in today's event. 12 drivers in total. We don't know what everyone's fuel or tire we know what everyone's fuel is going to probably be at 100% here at the start, but we don't know what everyone's tire selection is going to be. If you're just going to go run mediums all the way through the end, it's roughly a 45 lap tank. You do the math, 45 and 45 is 90, 90 and 45 is 135, and then you could do softs at the end. So this will likely be a 3-stop event one way or another. As the field is already gathered up, and we are about to get underway here, as the field comes onto the start-finish line. PTG locked out the front row and will lead us to the green flag here at Homestead-Miami Speedway. LilCESAR immediately gets a push from behind by Dean Speedman. Caesar tries to keep the bottom line cut off. He gets into the apron. He pushes himself and Dean Speedman wide. He keeps going wide. He runs speed into the outside wall. The 77 goes to the outside wall, and LilCESAR goes from leading all the way back to 7th in just the first few corners, and it is Shredder, who was the pole sitter at Daytona, who goes into the lead. And that's the case of what happens when you have some oval inexperience. PTG Neb looked to try and make a move on Shredder, but NFL Racer stormed up to the inside. Now NFL Racer has a huge run there, side by side across the line. NFL Racer sends him to the inside going into turn 1, and NFL Racer goes to the top. And Dean Speedman is already fighting with Badimski. PTG Neb trying to make the extreme inside lane work there. 3 wide as they come onto the back straightaway. Make that 4 wide. Here comes TJ in that number 14 machine. We see Neb pull out. He is not, no, that's not Neb who pulled out. It was Badimski who pulled out. He does not want any part of that. There is Dean Speedman. Here comes Badimski back, but it looks like TJ has stabilized in 3rd position. So it's NFL leading, SRD Shredder 2nd, TJ 3rd, Neb 4th, Badimski 5th at the end of that lap. Already on our 3rd racing lap, and we have seen a lot of dicing and slicing through the top bit of the field, although there is a little bit of spraying out that we are seeing as PTG Hammer in 12th is already starting to lose the back of the grid just a bit here. We'll have the map up so you can kind of get an idea, as there is one car who has gone around. Well, maybe not gone around all the way, but it looks like Speed, Ludicrous Speed, has gotten into the wall, bled off a whole chunk of speed in the process. Is there damage to the car? No sign of damage to the car, so he will be able to continue, but that will be a significant backslide in performance for the driver who won at Daytona and had high hopes for the championship. So there's a fight per second. Shredder had it, but TJ has moved past it. He wants it. Shredder looks to the high side. Don't want to get into that wall if you can help it. There are 4 wide farther back again for those positions. It is Caesar, Neb, Badimski, and Dean Speedman who all keep fighting back and forth for those positions right now. They cannot get away from each other, it seems. Dean Speedman on the extreme outside. Here comes now Matter and Dino. And there are nearly 5 wide as they go down the back straightaway at Miami. There are nearly 5 wide. It's almost half of the field all bunched up together. Finally, it looks like LilCESAR's gained a little bit of a separation from it. Neb really drifted there going into turn 3 and bled off some speed. But the thing is, they're getting such a draft down these straightaways, you can afford to lose a little bit of time in the corners, because if you get that draft, it will suck you right back to the car in front of you as you go down the straightaways. Okay, so now they kind of calm down a bit. It is nose to tail, 4th to about the 8th or 9th position. But these spots are not locked in place. They can kind of explode in any direction at almost any time. It looks like TJ has pulled away from SRD Shredder, and we're several laps into the event. Let's go ahead and look at the tire life of our various drivers. 12.3% for NFL Racer, who is your leader right now. TJ, who is in 2nd position, is at 13%. And then you go to Shredder, who is running in 3rd right now. Shredder is at 8%. So it looks like Shredder is going to be on the medium tire compound, the one that will last longer. Then you have LilCESAR. He's at 8.5%. So Caesar is on a long run strategy. Here comes Dino to the inside. Dino is at 13%. So he's on the softer tires along with NFL and TJ. Then you have Matter just a little bit behind. Matter is at 8.9%, so on the harder strategy. This is PTG Neb, who's a little bit farther back. Neb Star on the front row. He's at 9.4% right now. Dean Speedman, who he's fighting with at the moment, Dean is at 9.2%, so another driver on the harder tire compound. Badimski, who has slipped back to 9th at the moment, is at 8.8%. And then you get to PTG Speed, who is back here in this little pack of cars near the back of the grid. Speed is at 10%, so a little bit in the middle right now. PTG Jammer is sideways as he got into the wall with Roach there. Roach is at 10%, and Jammer is really slow. And Jammer is at 9.8%. So it seems like the majority of the field is running on the medium tires right now, but softs are the way to go. We have had a significant spread out in the field from top to bottom right now, but it is NFL Racer leading TJ and Shredder, who is 3rd on the harder tire compound. He bounces off that outside wall in turn 4, but will able to keep keep it from bleeding off too much speed. He maintains his position right now as the field has really spread apart at this stage of the event. So again, the anticipation is that the soft tires will only last about 27 to 32 laps. Maybe you can push it a little farther if you absolutely had to, but that's the anticipation. The medium tires are believed to last the entire length of the fuel load, which would be about 45 laps roughly. So again, we're anticipating that everyone should have to, if you're just trying to split the race in nice even chunks, you should be able to make only a single stop on the soft tires, a single stint on the soft tires, and all your other stints would be on the medium tires through the rest of the event. So you see Dino, who we know is on the soft tires, has already gotten up to Shredder, already trying to work by him around the outside. It looks like it's worked out. Whatever happened to Roche and Jammer here farther back in the grid, it seems like they've gotten away with it and they're able to keep going at the moment. No damage, as far as I can tell, to either of those cars. The big thing is that they may have to run the risk of maybe going a lap down, depending on how this continues. Jammer is about 15 seconds behind the leader right now, and the lap here is about 27 seconds. So yeah, he's a little bit more than half a lap down at this stage of the event. It is NFL Racer, who is running high, wide, and handsome at the head of the field. We do not see this very often. NFL is a very prolific driver across Forza's various disciplines. He's been running a lot of races in the Mustang Challenge Series that IFEA runs. He's run in Japanese Grand Touring cars, GT3 cars, prototypes, NASCARs. But we're not used to seeing him being out front and winning, or let alone dominating like he is right now. But he is making some hay at the moment. He is just about 2 seconds ahead of TTJ 111, who's running a little bit farther back, probably not as comfortable with the car. And then, yeah, Dino. Dino was caught up in that big slide that was caused by LilCESAR getting onto the apron, sliding across the entire circuit. But Dino's already recovered from the third. And remember, Dino won only a single race in his NASCAR championship in the IFEA series. It was the season finale at Miami. He won it on a last lap pass. If there's anyone who knows how to make these races that this oval in particular work, it's definitely Dino, as he knows how to win here. Shredder continues to hold station with Dino at this stage of the event, but the fight is most definitely in Dino's favor right now. Then you have a bit of a gap to PTG LilCESAR, who's reigned by himself, and then Badimski and Deedspeed continue to go back and forth for these positions in 6th and 7th spot right now. Matter is about a second and a half behind them in that number 91 machine. Then you have PTG Speed, who is saying yes ahead of PTG Neb. Again, Speed kind of got into the wall, bled off a lot of his namesake. A lot of speed, fell back to that scenario where Roachman and Jammer were at, but he's been able to recover and make it ground back up. And Dino is already in the pits, and we're only 17 laps into the event. There's a little bit of transition damage, but there's no sign that the tires were cooked, but he has pitted much earlier than anyone else. Everyone else was saying, hey, look, he can make the tires go about almost twice as long as Dino has stayed out, but Dino is pitting 17 laps in, so I wonder, is Dino jumping off the softs now, and he's just going to try and run the medium tires, the harder option tire, to the end of the event. The big thing with the harder tire is that you're going to be a lot slower in the corners, but you will be able to stay out longer and you won't feel as much of a time fall off. So yeah, Dino is already a lap down at this stage of the event. That is him merging onto the track, coming onto the back straightaway. As you can visibly see, he was running just a little bit ahead of SRD Shredder. Now he is about a lap and then another 5 or so seconds behind Shredder at the moment. So green flag pit stops, you will see basically the entire field go a lap down. One other thing to consider, Dino is a lap down to the field, but now he is going to be on fresher tires for the next several laps and will actually have the speed to potentially cut his way and fight his way up through the field through the next little bit of the event. And that was Deedspeed, and it looks like he got into the wall there just for a moment. See Dino making another dive to the inside there. As Dino's trying to get by LilCESAR, he wants to get by him and start turning laps in cleaner air so he can make up ground from this early pit stop. Alright, well, we're going to be back in about 90 seconds here, so that'll be about 3-4 laps, sadly, and we'll keep you updated on anything that happened once we get returned here to Homestead-Miami Speedway. Ooh. No damage. Welcome back to Homestead-Miami Speedway here. We have a little bunch of 4 cars, 3 drivers fighting for position, 1 driver who's a lap down just trying to hang out. But LilCESAR, who's one of the drivers who started on the softer tire compound, is really feeling the tires fall away. And Dietzbeeman and Badimski, who both put on the harder option tire, are on the outside trying to really put Caesar under pressure and get around him. Now your top 2 drivers, NFL Racer and TJ, are still on the softer tires, but we're anticipating that those softer tires are just about at the end of their life. As we look at LilCESAR's tire wear right now, it says he's at 28%, so maybe Caesar's on a harder tire than I anticipated. But we look at our leader, NFL Racer, 44% right now, so he's going to be feeling some extreme tire fall off in a bit. This could be big news for Shredder, because Shredder is the highest running of all the drivers who are running the harder compound rubber at the moment. And Dietzbeeman is slowly working his way up through the field. He is currently in the 4th position as we speak, trying to kind of pull away from Badimski, who he's been in a prolonged fight with for just about this entire race. LilCESAR had a start on the pole, fell all the way back to about the 8th or 9th position, worked his way back up into about 4th, but now he's starting to bleed off time again. Seems like as the handling of the car is changing, as the fuel load is burning off, the car is changing its handling. He's just not very happy with how it's gone. And then right behind him is Dino, who is on a completely unique strategy, all on his own. He's just kind of running behind this group, not really doing anything, not moving forward, not moving back, just kind of turning laps with them. Also, while we were away, PTG Jammer tried to stay ahead of NFL Racer. I couldn't tell if it was contact or if it was a little bit of an arrow shove or what, but Jammer slapped the outside wall, came down 4, and in the process went a lap down. Oh, LilCESAR slapped the outside wall there, and it's going to back him up back. Dino Prime behind him up as well. So yeah, LilCESAR may be on the medium tire. Oh, and that's the 43 of Jammer. Jammer is spun and has come to a stop in the infield. There's no damage to the car, so we should be able to stay green. But whatever has happened to Jammer, this is going to completely derail his race. So he's going to pit. Meanwhile, your leader is NFL Racer, and we're anticipating that he will be pitting almost any lap. These tires should be just about to completely fall off a cliff right now, but any extra laps you can carry those tires, that right front is going to be very valuable. There's Roachman. Roachman jumped into this car with no qualifying, no practice, really didn't have an idea what he was getting into, and it's shown because he's fallen to 10th right now, but he has lasted about a 5th of this race without going a lap down. However, there's no competition. NFL Racer goes right by him without issue. And that was PTG Jammer coming out of pit lane there. So Jammer multiple laps down. Now if we get some yellow flags, I'm sure he would very much appreciate that. It would bunch the field up and he would get at least one of his laps back right now. But NFL Racer, he's got a 3.5 second lead over TJ, and he's at 53% on that right front right now, but he keeps pushing. Again, the soft tires were only anticipated to last up to about lap 32, but the cooler temperatures, again, these cars were built when the track was under nice sunny circumstances. The track was warmer, but the track is cooler today, and maybe that is having a knock-on effect and causing these tires to not wear out nearly as fast. They are still slinging around 900 horsepower and 3,400-pound machines into these banked corners. You're still going to be putting some kind of sideways wear on them, but it seems like he's making it work right now. And honestly, the more crazy thing is that Shredder, who is right in 3rd position right now, he is currently running high, wide, and handsome in 3rd, but he is not closing on our top 2. He is not close at all. He's still 10 seconds, so that's about almost, I'd say it's what, 40% of a lap behind our leaders at the moment. We could be looking at an event where NFL Racer and TJ, they might be fast enough that they can afford to make an extra stop and still be fine. And as I say that, TJ has come into the pits. So TJ has come into the pits when his tires are right at 60% wear. So NFL racer, how much longer is he going to stay out here? He's at 58% right now. You don't have to run the entire infield lane. You can just cut across, as far as I understand. But it's going to be really hard to do. And again, NFL racer stays out for another lap. You do the mathematics. If you want to make this a nice, even 3-stop race, you take 4 into 150, you go about 37 laps. So is NFL trying to do that? Is he going to try and go all softs all the way through? NFL still has 11 seconds over SRD Shredder at the moment. So he has time to bleed. He has time to lose. But this car is going to start really getting slow here. Look at this tire wear, 61%. And his fuel is almost out as well. He's at 8.3%. But he's still running around on these softer tires like it's not an issue. And the rest of the field, they're all having a fine little battle amongst themselves, but NFL finally, it looks like he's coming in. He's going to take the proper slow way in here. But he went 34 racing laps on this set of rubber. You do the math, 34 and 34 is 68. Oh, and NFL hit the tire wall coming into the pits, and that's going to cause him to lose a huge chunk of time in the process. So now, SRD Shredder is your leader, but NFL hitting that tire wall coming in is going to hurt him. But as I was saying, you do the math. 68 and 34 would be 102. 102 and 34 would take you to 136. He's still looking at what would probably be about a 4-stop race. So there may still be value in running fewer stops, but just turning slower laps, which seems to be the strategy that SRD Shredder is elected to go with right now, as he is turned into your leader at this stage of the event. An NFL racer, he had a lead by a massive amount, but after hitting the wall and needing to repair the damage, he has now fallen from leading to now he is second to last of all the drivers on the lead lap. He's nowhere near Dino, who is on a completely alternate strategy of his own. So whatever has happened to NFL coming in that caused him to hit that wall is completely derailed his event and likely taken him out of the running. So your leader now is SRD Shredder in the number 10 machine. And the question now is, how far can you take the fuel? He is at 22% fuel. So he still has, probably another 8, maybe 9 laps in this thing. And he's not that far away from Dietzman or Benimsky. That is PTG Jammer he's about to come up on. Jammer has gotten one of his laps back by virtue of NFL pitting, but he's going to lose it again once Shredder completes this overtake around the outside. Speed fell all the way back to next to last, but he has been slowly clawing his way back through the field. He is back ahead of Matter. He's ahead of LilCESAR. He's now up to 4th, only about 4 seconds out of your current leader's position, SRD Shredder. But LilCESAR is not letting not letting Speed get away with any kind of ease. This is a legitimate knives-out dogfight for the 4th position right now. Now, it looks like Caesar gets him this time, but he gets a little sideways coming out of the corner. Speed has a draft. He'll try and close up alongside him, but he's got Matter on his inside, denying Speed that ideal inside line. Speed's going to try the crossover on corner exit. Is it going to work? He gets back alongside, but now it's Matter who has the draft off of Lil C. And Lil C cuts down in front of Speed. Speed is the one who slides wide, and now Matter does the crossover. And they'll end up in just about the same positions as they come across the line once again. So Dino Prime, first of everyone to lap down right now, but he's on his own strategy. Right now, everyone else who's on track, they started this race on the harder tire compound, trying to go really deep into the race on the harder tires. It is Shredder, followed by Dietzman. Podimski has finally fallen off of him just a little bit. Then it's a bit of a gap till you get to LilCESAR, who is starting to pull away from Speed, as Speed and Matter are really going elbows and knuckles out here for the 5th and 6th positions. That's another several seconds back until you get to Neb, who's kind of running in his own, and then TJ, who was the first driver who was on the salsa pit. He is running 27 seconds down, but he is still on the lead lap at the moment. That is a critical thing. He is still on the lead lap right now. we're going to ride on board with Dino Prime here for a few laps so you can get a real good idea of what it's like watching these drivers really fight and battle it out here. We'll be coming up on what should be the rest of the pit stops for everyone else in just a few laps here, and Dino will likely cycle back onto the lead lap after that is over, eventually into a top 3 or top 4 position. But for Dino, this has not worked out really as well. He pitted incredibly early on, didn't even go 20 laps in the first set of tires before pitting, but just trying to make something happen on an alternate pit strategy. But after coming out, he has not been in clean air. He's been in dirty air, having to fight with lead lap cars for a long time. And now it seems obvious that he just does not have the pace of the lead lap cars at the moment. So this is going to end up being a significant and messy scenario for Dino potentially as this goes on. We are on lap 45 now. Again, I look at our race leader at the moment. Fuel left in the tank, 7.8%. So he's going to be coming in the next few laps, and we'll likely see a flurry of drivers follow him into the pits. Once we get done with our first round of pit stops, we will go and knock out another advertisement break here, another Twitch-mandated ad break. But Deed runs in second, Badimski runs in third. If anything happens to Shredder, it could be big. And Matter is the first of everyone on the harder compound tire to pit. He does it on lap 46. Badimski and Deed still running nose to tail. Shredder stays out a little longer. I imagine these drivers are going to try and push these tires as far as they can, so that way, assuming it stays green for the rest of the event, when they make their final stop, they can shorten it up just a little bit by putting a little bit less fuel in the tank. Could these drivers push it to lap 50? Shredder has lost so much speed, he has fallen almost right into the clutches of this duo now. He's only half a second ahead. Shredder stays out, but now second and third are coming in. So this will be a fight between these two for position, and they're not the only one. I believe that is PTG Speed who is coming in as well behind. No, it's LilCESAR, not Speed. It's LilCESAR who's coming in. And it looks like all of them will avoid the tire barriers coming into the pit lane. We'll keep an eye on that. But now, Speed goes up into the second position. Shredder continues to lead, although he bled off a loss lap time there in those last few laps. But he stayed out all the way to lap 48. The thing is, it's a 150 lap race, technically 151. He did 47 laps fine. That math doesn't work out. Shredder at some point is going to have to make an extra stop. He was not able to take the fuel tank long enough to make it only a 2-stop event. So Shredder is in, Speed is in, Neb is in. This should put Dino back onto the lead lap. And more interestingly, I think it will put TJ back into the lead of this race. TJ ran the first stint of the event on the softer tires, and I think he might end up with the race lead after this. Not by much, but he should have it. Sure enough, he does. This has also put NFL back on the lead lap. It has put Roach back on the lead lap, just ahead of TJ. The drivers are taking the entire warm-up lane all the way around onto the back straightaway, so cutting out pit stops will be incredibly important today because you lose so much time slowing the car down and then speeding it back up here. TJ is running in Roachman's draft right now. We'll quickly look at the tire life. 21.6% on that right front. He has 63% left in the tank. Still a small amount of engine damage, but shouldn't be enough as long as he stays in the draft. So TJ knocked out a soft stint early. How far is he going to go into this one? I think he's running mediums now. And Shredder is a good 5 seconds behind. Dino, after running his own crazy, unique strategy, he is running third, but he is 8 seconds out of the lead right now. Then it is Deet Speedman, who just barely came out ahead of Badimski, an NFL race who had that giant lead on the rest of the field, but hit the wall, hit the tire barriers coming in. He ended up having to repair the damage, and he has fallen to 5th, but is now trying to fight his way back up through the field here. But Badimski is not letting him do that very easily. And then you have LilCESAR, who is right behind Badimski. This is good news for Deed because it lets him kind of open his legs a little bit and try to stretch out a bit of a gap. Then you have Neb, who is fighting here with Matter and Speed. These three are on their own strategy. All three of them pitted early, so it seems like the overcut, staying out longer, was more impactful. These three all pitted early for their first stop, and they have all lost a significant amount of time to the leaders. So Overcut is important, but you don't want to go so long that you lose valuable time. And you can't overcut so much that you will be able to cut out a pit stop. Shredder is still going to have to make 2 more stops. He did not shrink it down to a 1-stop event. But as we continue to watch this race play out, we're going to go ahead and knock out another ad break here. We'll be back in about 90 seconds here at Homestead-Miami Speedway. Welcome back to Homestead-Miami Speedway. We are on a green flag run of 56 laps since the start of this event. It has been a very, very unexpectedly clean race thus far. A bit of a bobble by a pole setter at the start kind of got everyone's panties in a twist, but we stayed green, and we have stayed green ever since. We've knocked out the entire first round of pit stops. Again, there are 2 different tire compounds in today's event. A soft tire compound that can only last about 30 or so laps, apparently 25 to 30 laps, and then a harder compound that will last closer to 45, in Shredder's case, as many as 48 laps. But no one looks like they'll be able to make it on only 1 more stop. And more interestingly enough, we have quite a variety of strategies going on. A lot of interesting fights for positions. There's a fight that's been going on for 8th, 9th, and 10th between Ned, Matter, and Speed for a while. And then there's this fight that's been going on for 3rd to 5th between LilCESAR, NFL Racer, and Dino Prime. Then Dietzman and Badinsky have been fighting. And then at the head of the grid is TJ, who is leading. TJ ran the first stint of the race on the soft, nice and sticky compound. He's absolutely flying around and got to second. It was NFL Racer who was leading on the softs, but then he ended up crashing, coming into pit lane, and they spent so much time preparing the car. He went about half a lap down, although he is now fighting his way back into the top 4. So TJ has now inherited the top position, but it's very obvious that TJ is not as confident or comfortable with the medium tires as he was with the softs, because Shredder is still on the medium tires, and he is running TJ down on speed and merit. So Shredder got pole at Daytona last week, but was not in position to directly fight for the win. Got a big block thrown on him that kept him out of that. Shredder did not even come close to getting the pole today, and he may have race-winning potential. So I guess it's a tale of 2 different extremes here at Miami. The majority of the field is still staying on the lead lap. Roachman went a lap down earlier in the event. However, he has gotten back onto the lead lap. It is now actually starting to close time back on the leader, or I guess in a sense pull away from the leader. The only other driver who is a lap down is PTG Jammer. Jammer had an instant, couldn't see exactly what happened. I think he hit the wall coming into 3, or maybe he locked up trying to come into the pit lane, but either way, Jammer had a spin in turns 3 and 4. The car stopped for a bit, but he eventually got turned and got into the pits, but in the process, he went 2 laps down. But everyone else is still on the lead lap at this stage of the event, as we are over a third of the way through our race, and we are starting to come down to the halfway mark of the event. NFL Racer was higher up in the fight, but now he has suddenly bled off a lot of speed, and I'm not sure what's happened there. But I'll say this, I think NFL Racer is doing soft. I think he is on his 2nd run on the soft tires. He doesn't have a lot of fuel left, and his tires are burning up, and it's not like it's been a long time since he's pitted. So yeah, I think NFL Racer is running double softs, he may just try and run soft tires all the way through. The risk with that is that you are almost guaranteed to run an extra pit stop doing that strategy, but he is fast enough, maybe he can make it work. The other thing though is that because he hit the wall in the pits, that cost him so much time that I think the strategy has gone from maybe contained for race winning down to just barely keeping him on the lead lap considering how much time he's lost. And that is Dino, who is on his own strategy. No, that is Jammer who is coming into pit lane. No, Jammer's already in pit lane. That is Dino who is coming down pit lane right now using the entry rope as Dino is on his own unique strategy. Dino's tires are currently at 55%. But meanwhile, at the head of the field, Shredder has closed the gap down to about 2 seconds on TJ. They're both on the same tire compound, but Shredder's is fresher right now. TJ has track position, but it does not seem like track position is really that important today. That is Roachman who is now coming into the pit, so that will put Roachman a lap down again. Not sure what's happened that has forced Roach to pit this much earlier. He only made his last stop at around lap 40, I believe. So I don't think the if he put on softs, they would have already fallen off, but still. We'll keep an eye on that. But anyways, Shredder continues to run this gap down. Right out the back of TJ's car, and you can see Shredder visibly holding the gap down. The big thing, though, is going to be, of course, both these drivers will have to make another stop. Shredder seems to be smoother and more comfortable on the mediums right now, but TJ will pit sooner than Shredder, and there will be a period where that crosses over, and TJ will be the one on the fresher tires, and Shredder will be struggling on the older tires, just trying to survive. So that's the big thing to consider. We also don't know if, once Shredder makes his final stop, if Shredder is going to go ahead and jump onto softs, or he's going to jump onto mediums again. The other thing to consider is that if we get a yellow flag, we've been cleaning green the entire race thus far, but if we get a yellow flag, that could put Shredder in a position that he could skip a pit stop. Right now, it looks like it will only be about 5 or 6 laps short, but you do the math. If you get 2 to 3 laps under yellow flag conditions, I think Shredder could skip a pit stop. Shredder pulls up alongside TJ as they come down now into turn 1. Shredder's got the position, slides right in front of TJ. TJ washes up high, just can't keep up with that 10, and Shredder goes to the lead of the event. TJ looking to the inside, trying to do a crossover, but just does not have the grip, or just does not have enough grip to put power down and pull up alongside Shredder, and Shredder has already opened up about 0.3 of a second in a lap. So Shredder is basically running in his own zip code in today's event here at Miami. NFL Racer pitting again. So yes, my NFL Racer is just doing soft. This will put NFL Racer in a tricky position because he's not only going to go a lap down, he could end up being 2 laps down, depending on how long this takes. I'll have to hope they didn't end up hitting the wall again coming into the pit lane. Little fight going on between PTG Neb and Badimski. Neb qualified on the front row, but got into a bit with LilCESAR. More like LilCESAR got into him at the start, and Neb has just kind of been stuck in the midfield most of the day since then. Right now, he is trying to hold off a challenge from Badimski. That is NFL Racer coming out of pit lane right now. Again, cutting out pit stops are going to be so incredibly important, but Shredder is not looking like he's going to be able to make this a 2-stop affair. So, yeah, cutting out pit stops are important, but if we stay green and clean like we have thus far, that could really upend things and open things up for him getting trounced at the very end of this event. Another fight going on between Speed and Matter. Speed had fallen way down the grid, but clawed his way back up, but then him and Matter caught each other right when they were about 4th and 5th position. The two of them just kind of fought and dragged themselves back down the order, and now they're both stuck solidly in the midfield. Big thing to consider, Speed was leading the championship points coming into today's event, but with a performance like this, it's not looking like he'll be still leading the points coming out today's event if this is where he's going to end up running for the rest of the day. Matter trying to close in. The other thing to consider is that Speed, Matter, and Neb all pitted early when they made their first stop, and it seems like undercutting is a bad move. You want to overcut, you want to pit as late as possible. That is the most important thing, it would appear. So we'll keep our eye out for that, on how that will turn out, if these drivers will be able to push a little farther. The other thing to consider, though, these drivers, they're kind of, this duo of Speed and Matter, they're basically locked into a 3-stop strategy. I think that they're going to be able to go long enough. They can throw on softs for the last sprint to the end of the event. If we get a late race yellow and the field is bunched up, these drivers could be on soft tires and could really cause havoc in the final run. It looks like most of the field is all starting to spread out just a little bit. This is the closest thing we have to a battle right now, so we're going to try and get a little bit ahead of the ads at the moment. But when we come back, we'll see the rest of our drivers make their next round of pit stops here at Homestead-Miami Speedway. Welcome back to Homestead-Miami Speedway. We're about halfway through our event right now. We've been watching a fight between Jeb and Dietz-Beeman. All the while, NFL racer who just pitted a few laps ago is cutting his way through, trying to make up ground that he lost earlier from a self-inflicted incident on pit lane. Your leader is SRD Shredder right now. Now, the ticker is wrong. He is not leading by 34 seconds. That is closer to the accurate lead. It's only about 5 seconds. TJ, who was up front earlier and led some laps, this is not coming to grip with these harder compound tires and is falling rapidly through the field. LilCESAR is in third and honestly could run TJ down as this goes on. Then you have this fight between Neb and Dietz-Beeman. Deed had it, but Neb caught him. They fought for a little bit. Deed tapped his car off the outside wall in turn 4, got Neb ahead, and TJ's already coming in. As we anticipated, TJ comes in because we knew that he ran the first stint on the soft, so he is now kind of on an offset to where he has to pit earlier for the rest of the running here. So that will drop TJ a lap down, we know that, but our curiosity is going to be, will TJ put on soft tires or will he put on medium tires to go to the end here? So LilCESAR, 9 seconds out from Shredder. This is our fight for third now. Neb and Dietz-Beeman continue to trade these spots back and forth, and as they continue to do this, it will bring Badimski into the fray, and Badimski is someone that Deed spent the first third of the race constantly fighting with. He's finally got away from Badimski, but now he's left fighting with Neb, and it could bring Badimski back into the fray. Then you have Matter and Speed. These two have also been going back and forth for position, basically since this round of stops ended. The interesting thing is that Matter, Speed, and Neb all pitted at the same time. And we know that they're all on the same tire compound, otherwise Neb would have had to have pitted already due to tire fall off. But as you can see, oh no, those tires are falling off for Neb. I'm wrong. Neb only got away from Matter and Speed because he's on soft tires, and those tires are cooked. He's gonna have to pit in the next few laps. And he has a little bit of engine damage as well, which isn't going to help either. It'll cost him a little bit of time in the pits, and it also means that he's been slower on the track while he's had these soft tires. So Neb is going to have to pit here and will likely go a lap down. So that will give Deed a little bit of clean air. Oh, but that explains a lot, though. Neb went from being about half a lap down to now he's only about a quarter of a lap, well, about a third of a lap, about half a lap down. Went from about being something like that. But anyway, Neb gained a lot of ground, but now we know that it came at the cost of long term. So he's going to have to pit in these next few laps here. And Shredder, your leader, is coming to the pit early. much earlier than anticipated. I wonder if that most recent stint by Shredder was on the softs. He went about 40 some odd laps, about 48 laps. Now he pits about 35 laps later. So yeah, it sounds to me like Shredder's second stint was on the softs, which would explain why he was able to run TJ down. So now, LilCESAR is your leader. First laps he's led today, despite starting on the pole. And it is Deed Speeman, who is second. Badimski has just taken third here from Neb. Neb has to pit in these next few laps. They have to come. And now LilCESAR stopping out of the top position. So now it goes to Deed Speeman. He will take over the lead of the event. Still has a little bit of life left in the tires. Still has plenty of fuel left as well, so he should be able to stay out for a while. I anticipate that D could probably stay out until around like lap 95, 96. And I imagine Badimski, who's running a little bit behind him, is going to be on a similar strategy. Yeah, it looks like they are on a similar strategy right now. Then you get to Neb. When is Neb going to stop? He is third, but look, he barely has any fuel left. His engine has some significant damage, so he's losing a lot of time. And that right front tire is almost at 70%. Maybe if this happened on mediums, maybe it would have been a small boon and it would have let him stretch a few extra laps to cut out a third stop. Because right now we're looking at a third stop taking place around lap 135 to lap 145 if you were just going mediums all the way through. But Neb ran this most recent set on softs, and here he comes into the pits now. This will almost guarantee take him off of the lead lap. So after that's all done, Shredder is 6th on track right now. 18 seconds out of the lead. Well, he'll be 5th as he goes by Neb here. He is still well ahead of NFL Racer by about 7 seconds, and NFL Racer is actually just a little bit ahead of TJ. So NFL Racer running the more aggressive, constantly on soft tire strategy right now. It's paid some dividends to him, but it's just not looking good. It might force him to make this a 5-stop affair. It's almost definitely going to be a 4-stop affair for him. Because he is not making it 40 laps on the softs. He's only going about 30 to 36 on the softs. So he is going to have to make this a 4-stop affair. He's going to be basically an entire pit stop behind. He's making great time on the track. And Shredder, we believe, is the overall leader once our top 4 make their stops. But and NFL is only about 7 seconds out now, but he's going to be 7 seconds plus about a lap afterwards. The NFL really needs a yellow to try and bunch the field up and put him, maybe not on strategy with everyone else, but put him to where he's not going to be so far behind as everyone else. So Deed Speeman leading that number 23 Toyota, sponsored by Columbia. He's at 50% right now, but he can probably stay out for a few more laps. Again, you want to stay out as long as possible, it seems. The longer you stay out, the better off you seem to be. Although there is obviously a tipping point where you stayed out for too long and the tires are so cooked, you're in trouble. Someone got into the wall back there in turn 2, but I don't see any signs of any damage to anyone's car, so we stay green. In fact, no one has really damaged their car in any instance. 4th place, that is TFB Matter, is coming into the pits now on lap 91. So he's been going about 45 to 46 laps on each of his stints thus far. So he's going to make his final stop, we believe, around lap 135 if we stay green to the end. PTG Speed is the driver he had been fighting with for the majority of this time, but Speed's going a little longer this time around. So it's a prolonged strategy fight playing out right now. Matter will fall behind Caesar, Neb, Dino. Still ahead of Roachman, still ahead of Jammer. I have to wonder if Roach has had an instinct coming onto or out of pit lane that we did not see, because he is now 3 laps down, although earlier he had enough pace to stay just on the edge of the lead lap, so I wonder what's happened to him. Same thing with Jammer, who has now gone 5 laps down at this stage of the event, although Jammer just seems to be generally off pace. Meanwhile, at the lead, it is a 1 second that Deed holds over Beninsky. At right front is at 53%, but his fuel is just about gone. So Deed is not really pushing his tires to a ridiculous level. It's just the fuel that he's struggling with. And once again, Badimski pits at the same time as Deed. Oh, and Dean's in the dirt! And Benimski's in the dirt! And Dean slides! And he's hit by Benimski! And he spins backwards up the racetrack into the outside wall! And the rear end of the car is destroyed! Benimski got into the pits, Speed got into the pits, Dean is still running around! But now, are we under the yellow flag? Is this a yellow? I think we're under caution due to that accident, as both Dean Speedman and Benimski took too much speed track coming to pit lane on old tires, and they both spun back onto the track, and Dean got hit by Benimski. Now both Dean and Benimski were able to get back into the pits afterwards, and Speed had pitted just as that all happened, but this will put a bunch of drivers back by an extra lap. That'll be good news for Roach and Jammer. They both get a lap back as well. All these drivers who were lapped out on strategy from pitting early, now they're going to be on the lead lap with fresher tires, and all these drivers who had not yet pitted are now going to be really hurting. Big thing to consider, though, for Shredder, he needed yellow flag laps, but I don't think he wanted them at the very end of his stint. He wanted them early or middle through his stint. Now, I don't see this working out in a super good way for Shredder at the moment. We're on lap 95 of 151. Roachman and PTG Jammer will be at the back of the grid. Both of them have gotten a lap back. Oh no, it looks like they're going to let them go around and get another lap. Looks like Jammer's getting another lap back, but Roach is not. Roach is going to stay at the back of the grid. So I don't know if there's something else going on there that warranted Jammer getting an extra lap back, but he is so many laps down, it may not really matter. Gonna knock out an ad break here. Just as we see some drivers coming in the pit, so we'll give you an idea who will or won't pit. Okay, it looks like no one's pitting, so we're going to knock out an ad break here, and hopefully we'll come back in time to see him take the green flag at Miami. Oh. So NFL, Benimski, Neb, Dino, and Deed all pitted at the same time, coming in this time by. So Shredder, TJ, LilCESAR, Speed, and Matter all stay out. Shredder, I think, is trying to make this just a two-stop. He's trying to save fuel here under the yellow that we're under right now. He's got fuel. He can go for a while, honestly. He had literally just made his second stop. The only downside for Shredder is that I don't think this will be enough laps under yellow to really give him a shot at I don't think this will be enough to give him a shot at cutting out a pit stop. This is still a 3-stop strategy for him. And the field's already gathering up. I should have gone to break earlier. I look like a bloody ESPN commentator. Welcome back to Miami. Just as we go to the green flag, the multiple drivers, NFL racer, Benimski, Deed Speedman, Nev, and Dino all pitted under the yellow flag. So our top 5 are on old tires. The drivers farther back are on new tires. Jammer had not yet caught the back of the grid, so they went green without him. But Shredder now trying to hold off Speed and TJ at the head of this field. Speed had literally pitted just before the yellow flag, so he's got some of the freshest tires of everyone who stayed out. And that is NFL Racer, who's into the wall farther up, and Matter got into the wall along with him. And they're both sliding into the pits right now. So whatever happened between Matter and NFL, they are now going to go a lap down after crashing into the outside wall. No, we go under yellow. So we're now under a yellow flag as Matter and NFL Racer had an accident at the back of the field. So despite running the first 90-plus laps of this race, a nice, clean green condition, over half of the race under green flag, now we start seeing cautions leading to more cautions. This helps out Roachman, though. This helps out PTG Jammer, get some of their laps back. I think Roach is only going to be 1 lap down after all of this. And Speed is now leading. And for Shredder, frustration, because this still is not going to work out in a way that he could cut out a pit stop. I don't think anyone is really in a position that they can cut out a pit stop. I think what's more likely is that right now you run whatever tires you have, and then you make a pit stop with about 30 or less laps to go and throw on the softs and then go to the end after that. I feel like that's going to be the strat. If you did pit under this yellow, you could potentially throw on mediums, and with a little bit of lift and coast, you could probably go to the end without another stop. It would be hard. You'd have to go 52 laps on a tank that we've only seen go about 48. That's a lot of lift and coast, though. Oh, something's happened back there in the back of the grid. What is going on there? I think that's Roachman. He's having a bit of a slide. Yeah, he seems to be the only one pitting right now. Now, he is on worn-out tires and needs more fuel, so he's gotten some of his laps back. He's only 1 lap down now, so he'll go ahead, get on the back, and Dino is going to pit. NFL Racer will pit again as well. So yeah, right. I think these two, NFL Racer and Dino, their strategy is throw on medium. At least I think the ideal strategy for them is throw on the medium tires and don't pit for the rest of the race and hope that track position falls your way. If the field gets really spread out like it did earlier, we could very easily go green to the end of the race. For Roachman, I think his strategy is just, hope that another yellow comes so the field bunches up and you get another lap in, and then don't pit again. But still, I think this is a potentially race-winning strategy. You will be slower than everyone else who is still out there. But if you can make the fuel tank stretch to 51 laps, you just might look like a genius. So we should start seeing the field double up shortly here. PTG Speed took the lead from Shredder on the restart, and now he will restart at the head of the field. He won at Daytona. Finally breaking a 7-year-long curse, almost 8-year-long curse for him at that track. Now he's going to try and win at Miami. 12 cars in 6 rows, all doubled up nose to tail. We are green once again here with 50 laps to go at Miami. Speed gets a bit of a push from TJ on the inside. Shredder on the outside, though, just kind of rim-raining it. Not really any problem here at the head of the field through turns 1 and 2. They're still neck and neck at the head of the field, though. TJ, is he going to try and pull to the inside, make it 3 wide? No signs of him doing that yet. Jammer's already lost the back of the grid. Don't know what's happened there. Getting really chaotic farther back, but it looks like everyone will keep it steady and straight. Speed leads. It is TJ versus Shredder, and Dean Speedman is there as well. That is the fight for second, and Dean gets into TJ. TJ slides up into Shredder. The 14 and the 10 both walk their way up the track. TJ pulls himself away from it, cones the inside line, still neck and neck as they go into turn 2 now. Turn 3. Side by side through 3, and now into 4. Dean has now lost positions to LilCESAR. LilCESAR is making his way up through the grid. Caesar is one of those drivers who are on fresher tires, pitted when the yellow first came out. But this trio is not really able to get away from each other at the moment. Shredder finally cuts down in front of TJ. The aero wash pushes TJ up. He gets into Dean. Dean taps the outside wall just a little bit. Here comes LilCESAR with a huge run of steam to the extreme inside. And LilCESAR will pick up multiple positions. He'll shoot up to the 3rd position on track. There are 3 wide further back behind, but LilCESAR is making himself an outside threat. Here comes Dino. Maybe Dino put on soft tires instead of mediums and I read the room wrong, but Dino is now getting really punchy. He's got the elbows out. He is fighting for the 4th position right now, and he's got NFL right behind him. Dean Speedman just is struggling to keep these cars behind. He looked really good in the first lap or 2, but now I think those worn out tires are starting to get to him. He's just kind of hemorrhaging positions, falling backwards through the grid right now. Dean Speedman goes to the extreme outside, and it's going to let NFL Racer by on his inside now. So, if you're going to pit again, you'll probably throw on soft tires, but you won't be pitting now. You would pit in about another 15 laps, roughly. But if you're on the mediums, do you consider lifting and coasting to try and save some fuel and go to the end without a pit stop? If we don't get any yellow, it could work out fantastically, but if we get a yellow flag, you would be in major trouble. LilCESAR got up to third position, but he has not ran away from the rest of the field like we anticipated. He's just kind of hanging out right now just ahead of Dino at the moment. Dino now looks to the inside of the 32 Tide ride. That is NFL Racer right behind. Again, Dino and NFL pit into that most recent yellow, so they're on a slightly alternate strategy to most of the field here. Oh, and we have a caution. Something has happened that's put us back under yellow. That is PTG Neb, who has apparently damaged the car significantly. I don't know what has happened here. But now with 107 laps down out of 151, we'll see Roach get back on the lead lap. We'll see Jammer go to being only 1 lap down. If you are on the medium tires, do not pit. Just save as much fuel as you can, but only if you're on fresher mediums. Otherwise, you don't want to pit this circuit because you jump onto the mediums, and yeah, the mediums will make it to the end, but I don't know, maybe if you pitted and threw on mediums now, it would be a good option. It might legitimately be the option to go with. Do you pit now, throw on mediums, and not worry about pitting for the rest of the event? Because if we go green, and stay green to the end, you will lose about a lap on the soft tires, putting new tires on. We see Dino pitting, Dean Speedman's pitting, Badimski is pitting. So several drivers, and PTG Neb will pit again as well. So several drivers at the back of the grid will go ahead and pit. But a bunch of others are staying out, likely hoping for yellows coming just a little later. But for those four, Dino, Dean, Badimski, and Neb, if they throw on medium tires, they can just run track position to the end. And if we stay green to the end of the event, we will be flying. I'm not going to go to another ad break because the ad break takes too long. But I will likely have to knock out one more before this is over. So I'll try to put that in the least inconvenient position possible. Alright, the field's all gathering up now on the back straightaway. It is still Speed, Shredder, who will be leading the field to the restart. LilCESAR, then NFL. Row 2, Row 3 will be TJ and Matter. Row 4 will be Roachman and Dino Prime. Row 5 will be Badimski and Dean Speedman. Row 6 will be Neb and Jammer. Jammer is the only driver still a lap down at this stage of the event. Everyone's doubled up. We're going green with 43 laps to go here at Miami. Smoke them if you got them. We are off and underway once more. Roach immediately takes it 4 wide, gets onto the apron. That ain't gonna fly. Roach is into the apron. Badimski has hit the outside wall farther back as well. Is Badimski's car damaged? No, we stay green. But Shredder has briefly stolen the lead from Speed at the head of the field on the outside. Speed holds the inside lane though, and now Shredder falls in line behind. Here comes LilCESAR with a huge head of steam on the extreme inside. Field got a lot more spread out, a lot quicker this time by though. We might see this run green to the end now. For these drivers at the head of the field, they may have another pit stop they'll have to make. But yeah, oh boy, that field's really spread out. We've already lost about 5 cars from the lead pack. Here comes Shredder, pulls up alongside Speed. They're going to be neck and neck as they come across the line this time. Shredder has the nose ahead. Speed is on the extreme outside. But Shredder gets the position back. Real quickly, I look at the fuel left. 34% for Shredder, that you're not going to make that last. For Speed, who is in second, 43%, you're not going to make that last. For LilCESAR, who runs in third, 31%, they're going to have to pit again as well. NFL Racer, who is in 4th. He pitted very recently. He's at 67%. I'm not going to say that will last, but his fuel is looking really nice at the moment. Then you have TJ, who is running in 5th position, although he's just lost that to Dino. TJ's got a little bit of engine damage, but he's at 42%. That's not going to work. And then Dino, who had just recently pitted, 79% fuel. Dino is hoping that this stays green to the end here. LilCESAR and Shredder in a fight for second as Speed is retaking the lead here at Miami. Less than 40 laps left in the event. If we stay green to the end, it could be NFL Racer and Dino Prime, who are in prime position to win this race. But if we have another yellow flag, everything could open up. And while the field is spread out, it's not completely falling apart yet. Everyone's not just running in their own zone by themselves. Roachman's having a bit of a fight here with Wadimski near the back of the grid right now. Our top 4, Speed, Shredder, LilCESAR, and NFL, all on top of each other. The big thing to consider, though, NFL actually has the fuel to go to the end. We're not so confident about his tires, but we know that NFL has fuel to go to the end. Dino, who is in 5th, also has fuel to go to the end. The 3 drivers ahead will likely have to pit if we don't get another yellow. If we do get another yellow, they'll pit under the yellow flag, and while they'll cycle into the back of the grid, we are currently at 35 laps left. They would probably take the risk, throw on socks, and be faster for most of the rest of the race. They are 3 wide going down the back straightaway. LilCESAR on the extreme inside gets by Shredder, gets by Speed. Speed has to back out so much, he'll lose a position in NFL, but Caesar drifted so high in 3 and 4. Shredder gets on his inside. Shredder let it fly. Dead heat, 2 by 2 for the top 4 drivers at the head of the field. They're 3 wide for second now. LilCESAR trapped on the extreme outside. Shredder leads. Here comes NFL with a run now. NFL trying to make something happen as Speed has gotten back by LilCESAR to go back into the 3rd position now on track. 53 comes up to the left rear quarter panel of the 10. Will be a dead heat. Drag race to the line, but Shredder has the car about a third of the way ahead of the 53. But NFL takes the lead as they dive into turn number 1 now. And now the 53 slide jobs ahead of the 10, but the 10 backed up his entry so he could get a fantastic exit. Speed has a huge run. Bit of a lag moment from Shredder. Won't be happy about that. There are 3 wide once again, but Shredder backs out, and NFL's into the outside wall. No damage, but he has lost a bunch of position hitting the outside wall. Lost a bunch of positions, a bunch of time, and now it is a 3-car fight at the head of the grid. So Shredder, Speed, and LilCESAR are the 3 drivers at the head of the field, but these 3 are almost guaranteed to need to make another pit stop before this is over. Shredder is slow. Incredibly slow. He's fallen. I think he's given up a position willingly, so he's behind NFL and doesn't get a post-race penalty for that. On road courses, that works, because you can maybe work that back, but on ovals, that kind of attitude is going to just hurt you more than help you. And that has effectively taken Shredder out of the fight for this win, so now it is Speed and LilCESAR at the head of the field, and Dino running confidently in 3rd, who should have the fuel and tires to make it to the end. Yeah, Dino's tires will be hurting a little bit, but he should have the fuel to go to the end. The 2 drivers ahead will not. NFL is back here in 4th position, trying to make his way back up. Big thing, though, is that I think that NFL is on soft tires, and he'll have to make another stop anyway. When they get to the line, it will be 31 laps to go, so anyone who wants to pit to throw on some soft tires to the end, they're going to want to consider doing it now. Speed leads. LilCESAR is in 2nd, trying to keep Dino behind. 57% on that right front for LilCESAR. He's going to have to pit in the next few laps. Dino wants to get by LilCESAR before that happens so he doesn't run into the back of that number 32 machine. And for Speed, who's leading, he pitted a lot later than a lot of these other guys, but he's only got 21% fuel left in the tank. PJ's back here in 5th, running a little bit ahead of Deedscheming right now. Again, it looks like right now the big question is just going to be, can Dino run this car with the fuel and the tires he has. Can he run it to the end without any incidents? And the other question, of course, will we stay green to the end? Because if we have a yellow flag, that is going to massively upend things. I'm seeing drivers coming into the pits. That is Shredder and that is TJ. So Shredder and TJ are going to pit with about 27 laps left in the event. They'll throw on some soft tires, hope that yellow flag will come out so they get back on the lead lap and can go hard to the end. It's about 27 laps left right now. Massa curious to see where that duo of TJ and Shredder will come back onto the track. They're already a lap down, we know that. But where are they going to be in relation to other drivers? Now we see Benimski coming into the pits this time by. So Benimski pits with 26 to go. The later you pit, the shorter the pit stop will be, but the less advantage you can make out of those soft tires. And now we see LilCESAR finally coming into the pits. You need to be careful. You don't want to spin out or crash coming into pit lane like we saw Dean and Benimski have happen. All right, LilCESAR's made it in safely. Speed at the head of the field. Feeling high, wide, and handsome, but the strategy is not looking like it will work out in his favor, not unless there's a yellow. Dean Speeman in fourth. I look at his numbers, 62% in the fuel. He's got the fuel. Will he have the tires? I think he may have the tires. So while he's about 5 seconds behind Dino, I think Dean might be in a position to pull a top 3 finish out of this right now. No guarantee, but I think it's possible. And here's Neb, running in 5th at the moment. 60% left in the tank in fuel, so he should make it to the end on fuel, and those tires look like they'll be holding up. So I think it might be Dino, Dean, and Neb who will be on the lead 3, as we run this race down to the end. LilCESAR's a lap down. TJ's a lap down now, although LilCESAR is currently ahead of TJ. Roachman, he pitted on the most recent yellow flag. He should have the fuel and the tires to go to the end, so he might be able to pull out a lead lap finish out of this when it is all said and done and over with. Here is Matter, who is right in 6th position. He's got engine damage. Those right fronts are cooked. He doesn't have a lot of fuel. His fuel is honestly a little bit more iffy, but I think he could make it to the end here. So really, I think it's just PTG Speed who is in the most problematic position right now with about 23 laps left. I look at that right front tire, he's at 53%. He only has about 7.7% left in the tank. He'll be able to make it a nice shortstop. Oh no, and Roach comes in now. So something's gone wrong, and Roachman is gonna have to pit again, so he will not be able to finish on the lead lap here. Likely will finish near the back of the grid, honestly. Frustration for him. But we're gonna see Speed come in the next few laps. And then when he does that, and he's completed that, Dino will inherit the race lead. The thing, though, for Dino is that NFL, despite being squeezed into the wall by Shredder earlier, NFL is closing down. But that right front is at 50% wear. NFL has the fuel to make it to the end, but I think NFL is on the soft tire compounds. He may have to pit again just for tires. He might be first of all the drivers a lap down, but this is not looking good for NFL's chances. Again, it looks like it will be Dino, Dean Speedman, and Neb who will be fighting for the top 3 positions here. Speed and Matter both pitting this time around. So that will put both of them a lap down now. We see Jammer pitting again. Will likely put him 2 laps down, maybe even 3, depending on where he comes out on track. Oh, NFL, be careful, you don't want to wreck. He's sliding. Very nearly slid back onto the track. But he keeps it together. He's still second. That's twice now that NFL has had an incident coming into the pits. Dean Speeman trying to fight with Neb for position, but that is PTG, LilCESAR, and TJ who are fighting for position amongst each other, and they are both the lap down, so this is a 4-car glut. If something's going to happen, something's going to go wrong, it could very likely be in this group of 4 cars. Dino is pitting. Why is Dino pitting? With 20 laps left, Dino is now making a pit stop. And Dino, who should have had the fuel and the tires to go to the end, is pitting with 20 laps left. So now it is Dean Speeman and Neb. Are these two going to be able to go to the end on the fuel that they have? Now all of a sudden, we're curious on their fuel. Dean still has half the fuel tank. Surely he can make half the fuel tank go. What, 18 laps? He'll have to do a little bit of lift and coast, but surely he can do that. That's the only way this could work. If this doesn't work out, though, I think it sends the momentum of this race back in PTG's favor. So can Deed make it to the end? Dino apparently thought he could not, and Dino gave up and pitted. Jammer. Looks like Jammer is backed out of the event now, so Jammer will not finish. Although considering how many laps down he was, I can't say I'm surprised at that. Oh, and there's a big accident! Neb flying multiple times, rolling about a dozen times in turn number 4 there! And that will be a yellow flag, and any hope, any chance that Deed would have had of winning this on a field strategy is over. Shredder gets into PTG Neb. Shredder was a lap down. Neb was on the lead lap, potentially fighting for what could have been a win, but they get to the outside wall, and the car that Neb is in is completely destroyed. This will be a long yellow flag period. We're going to knock out one last ad break here for the road. What isn't destroyed on that thing? Christ alive. Welcome back to Miami, and for Deed Speeman, heartbreak and frustration. He was one of only 2 drivers positioned to make it to the end of this race, with no more pit stops. But alas, the strategy has fallen apart, and while he might still stay out on track, he will be on old, worn-out tires, and will likely fall right to the rear of the grid. And this yellow flag has taken so long because the way everything worked out, Deed Speeman had a lap and a half of distance on the rest of the field. But now it's all gone. You'll have to pit and go to the rear of the grid, and will be joined by NFL racer, Beninsky, and Shredder. All of those drivers will be going ahead and putting on soft tires. I imagine everyone is on soft tires of varying ages right now. But now it is Speed and Dino who will be leading the field to the restart, with TJ, LilCESAR, Matter, and somehow Roachman is back in the fray despite being a lap down for over half of this event. PTG Neb, after it's all said and done, actually cycles back out to 7th, despite being the one that caused that caution. I imagine the series might look at its yellow flag rules a bit after that. It seems ridiculous that the car that caused the accident ends up restarting right in the middle of the field, ahead of a lot of other drivers who are going to be fighting for this win here. But anyways, it'll be PTG Speed and Dino Prime doubled up. We will stay with you green to the end of this race. When they hit the line, it will be 14 laps to go. There's a bunch of late race restarts at Daytona. Looks like we're going to see the same thing here. A lot of late race restarts at Miami. Everyone's doubled up through the entire field as they come down to the start-finish line. Green flag once again at Miami. Immediately, Neb goes to the inside to try and make it 3 wide in the midfield. Speed opens up a gap immediately is TJ, who is now the one putting Dino under pressure here. While there is going to be a little bit of variety when it comes to the age of the tires, everyone is now on the same strategy to the end here. TJ pulls up right behind Dino. Dino was running in Speed's draft, looks to the inside, dives to the inside. 77 on 40 for the lead. The 14 is right there behind, trying to find room so he can slip through as well. Deed is still in 4th position, trying to keep Neb behind him. Now, after having just pitted under that yellow, Deed will be on fresher tires in these top 3 here in the field. But does he have the time and the ability to make use of it? Dino leads again at the line, but TJ to the inside. Deed gives TJ a push. Speed is now falling through the grid. NFL Racer is the one behind Deed now. Dino tucks up behind TJ. TJ's watching a little high there. Dino's got his draft. Deed has draft off of both of them. Side by side for a lead again. Coming across. Dino goes deep into turn 1. Gets into the lead. TJ washes high a little bit. Deed comes. He wants to make it 3 wide. He'll get alongside TJ, but loses a position to NFL in the process. Now NFL to the inside of Dino. NFL shoots into the lead, and Dino's washing way high. He falls out of the top 3 in the process. NFL leads. Deed now into 2nd. He looks to the outside. He looks to the inside. NFL defends the inside aggressively. Washes him wide and washes Deed wide. Nab down comes to the inside. He'll move to 3rd ahead of TJ. A giant glove cars from about 4th on back. Here comes Deed to the inside of NFL Racer. Door to door. Through 3 and 4. Speed into the outside wall back there in turn 4. He'll bleed off a bunch of positions and drop to the last in the field. Deed leads with less than 10 laps to go. Here comes Neb, who was flipping in turn 4 earlier. He hits Deed to the side. He drifts off a bunch of speed. Here comes TJ. He'll shoot to the inside. TJ makes it 3 wide. Now there's 3 wide for 2nd. TJ to the lead. Here comes Matter now for 2nd position on the inside. Deed is trapped on the outside with nowhere to go, pretty much. And now Neb to the inside. They're all over the place coming out of 4, but they somehow are all facing the right way. TJ leads. Matter to 2nd. Deed trying to keep... Oh, and Matter slides, spins right in front of the field. Into the outside wall. Spinning multiple times, but there's no damage. He's able to keep it going. We stay green. And TJ now has a buffer, a gap on Deed, but Deed had a big run in 3 and 4. The gap is gone. TJ blocks and defends the inside. Deed spinning to the outside. Shredder is back in the play now. Door to door again in 1 and 2. Deed on the outside, TJ on the inside. And Shredder runs into TJ from behind. Deed hit the outside wall and bled off a bunch of time. And they're all sideways, but they keep their nose facing the right direction. TJ still leads. Now is Shredder and Neb behind TJ once more. Deed has fallen all the way back to 9th, out of contention for this. Shredder looks high, looks low, but there's nowhere for him to go yet. Into turns 1 and 2. It's 6 laps to go right now. TJ leads. Shredder pulling up behind. He's got to run. He goes to the extreme inside. Neck and neck as they go into 3. Both cars drifting wide. Neb on the inside now. He'll get alongside TJ here. Here comes Bedemski. He's been a midfield fighter all day, but if something goes wrong with the top 3, he could make something happen, but it looks like it's going to be this trio fighting to the end. TJ is making the outside line work. Shredder pushes him wide, though. TJ on the outside has a run. Shredder inside. And now he'll fall in line behind. Top 5 all nose to tail. There'll be 4 to go at the line. TJ leads. Does Shredder have a chance to get by? Does anyone have what it takes to get by TJ? Everyone's tires are going to be really screaming in agony right now. Neb to the inside of Shredder. Forces Shredder wide. Shredder bleeds off a huge chunk of time. Now it is Neb who is behind TJ. NFL racer in fourth now, but TJ has opened up a quarter-second lead over Neb. Badimski is in third. Here comes Neb. Neb to the inside of TJ. He forces TJ wide. It's 3 to go. If we stay green to the end of the race, doesn't matter what happens. And TJ has fallen down to third. Now Neb leads. Here comes Badimski. Badimski looks to the inside. Not confident enough. He falls back in line behind Neb. Tries to back his entry up so he gets a great run out. Coming down to it will be 2 to go at the line. Badimski to the outside of Neb. TJ is still there in third. He's starting to come back and he's bringing the field back with him. NFL to the inside of TJ for third. But Neb has it. Badimski looks high. Falls back in line. Only about 2 miles left here at Miami. As they come down to the white flag, Badimski has made his move. He's gotten by Neb. Did he make the move too soon? He will be leading at the white flag lap. Neb goes high as they go into 1 and 2, and that leaves him open to NFL racer. Neb tries to cut down, tries to block NFL. Now he goes high. Badimski blocked low to try and keep Neb from getting the inside. They're side by side again. Neb has the nose ahead, and it's 3 and 4. Badimski inside, Neb outside. They're both washing wide. They're both washing high. NFL has a run. Badimski leading. At the line, it will be a drag race. Badimski got it. Nearly 3 wide the line, but I'm positive Badimski was the one who got it. NFL racer and Neb side by side for second behind. I think NFL got it. TJ in fourth, Dino fifth, PTG LilCESAR in sixth, Shredder in seventh, Dean Speedman eighth, Roachman ninth, PTG Speed in 10th, 11th will be Matter. That was a run to the end, and somehow they kept it clean at the very end there. Somehow. And Badimski's move, coming to the white flag, was the one that decided the race. We'll knock out an ad break, and then we'll be back for post-race interviews here at Miami. Well, that was a heck of a run. All right, welcome back here to Homestead-Miami Speedway after the conclusion of a wild Miami race. The first 90 laps, clean and green, but all of that strategizing, all that running early on meant nothing. We've got some of our top finishers here, although Badimski has not yet been able to jump into the party. Don't know if he's just not able or not willing. We'll send another invite out to him, but while we wait, we want to talk with our third place finisher, PTG Neb. Neb, go ahead, include your audio in the Xbox party. You were everywhere today. You were at the front, you were at the back, you were on track, you were 15 feet above the track, and you finished third. What do you have to say about your run out there, Neb?
I had a very up and down race. I fell all the way to the back. I was like, oh, the race is screwed. I thought my strategy was decent, and then I binned it, which caused a caution with like 50 to go. So I thought, you know what, I'll pit for mediums and run it to the end. And I was the only other person that thought. Me and Steed, I think, were the only two people who thought of that. So I was guaranteed a really good finish. And I thought, oh, this is great. I'm guaranteed at least P2, decent chance of a win. This is going great. And then me and Shredder got Forza glued together and went for a grand trip into the catch fence. And then from then on, it was just straight sends. I just thought, right, we got softs straight to the end, send it, no letting off. Unfortunately, I gave a slight gap, and Medsky got up on my inside on the second to last lap, and that was the winning move. So, but it was an amazing race.
All right, well, Neb, one other thing to consider, obviously, is going to be your position for the overall championship. 8th last week, a 3rd this week. So, while it's not going to massively upend everything, this pulls you up in the title fight. Do you think you have a chance to make a run at the championship as this goes on?
I don't think I have the same raw pace as most of the top drivers, but I'm close enough that if chaos ensues, I think I might have a chance of good results at most races. Like here, I was ever so slightly off pace from the very top, but I had basically top pace the entire race. So I think I'm relatively confident, but my Daytona result is gonna go well right now. Hopefully it ends up being my drop.
All right, well, thanks for jumping in and talking with us, Neb. Benimsky jumped into the party for a bit, but then he left again before I could actually get the interview going, so I'll try that again with him. I want to talk with our second place finisher here real quickly, NFL racer. NFL, that was an experience. You spent a large chunk of the race kind of in that upper midfield, running that extreme all softs all day long strategy. You got second out of it. What do you have to say about your race overall?
Yeah, it was. You're not wrong. It was an experience, to be sure. Yeah, had great pace. Led for the first third of the race. Thought everything was fantastic, and then speared the pit wall like Larson on my first pit stop, and played catch up from the rest of the way. Thought I had a shot at it. The caution, the final caution really saved my butt right there too, because I did not put enough fuel in the car on the last caution, so that really saved my bacon. But yeah, it was a wild race. We still have no idea. It says I got second, but between myself and Neb, I have no idea who actually got second. It was way too close to tell. So we're gonna have to run footage back and see if we can figure that one out. But regardless, what a finish! And after the disappointment I had at Daytona, I am more than happy to walk out with a podium, regardless.
All right, a great run here, obviously. Obviously, you had that 7th place finish at Daytona, so kind of clawed back some ground in the championship. Do you think you have a shot at the championship as the season goes on?
I mean, I'd very much like to think so, but only raced in a longer schedule, so it's way too early to tell. I'm cautiously optimistic, but you just never know. So TBD, I suppose.
All right. Well, in that case, I will say it's been great to have you in. I'm going to try and bring Benimsky back in because apparently he's had some sort of issue that's kept him from getting in here. Kind of a frustrating thing because he got in the party and then it kicked him back out. Don't know what's going on there. But yeah, sometimes this works. Not to be cruel. Neb and NFL have already interviewed you guys. You guys may have to leave, so it opens up bandwidth. Oh no, here he comes. He's coming back in now. Badimsky, can you hear me now? Bemetsky? I don't know if he can hear me yet. All right, Medeski, go ahead and include your audio in the Xbox party.
I just did.
All right. Medeski, very interesting race. You spent a lot of the day today fighting with Deed for those kind of midfielder positions, but then at the very end, it was you who pulled off that incredible pass coming to the white that got you the win. Walk us through that race from your perspective, mate.
Really, obviously, since this is my first race in PTG, obviously during practice, I'm struggling a little bit, but, Deed's my teammate, he's very fast, so, I kind of just followed in his footsteps, and then, obviously we had some, after the first couple of yellows came out, I don't really know, it just fell back, and then I got myself into some trouble, and then, just kind of was hoping for a yellow, and then, we had, Nev go flying there for a minute, but yeah, that gave us the break. I decided, hey, I'm gonna pit for softs, and we got the softs, and it worked perfectly. I allowed everyone to fight with each other, just get through, and then me and Nev had a really great race, and this was a lot of fun, really. These guys are very competitive. That's really what I like. Nice car count today. Truth be told, I thought I was gonna finish last. I don't want to be that guy, but who knows? Maybe I'm just good after all.
All right, well, your first oval race, so obviously you're kind of out of contention for the championship talk right now, but the next few races in the season are going to be road courses. You're going to have high power. That's also open tuning. What are your anticipations and your predictions for your abilities on the road courses?
Truth be told, these guys are road course veterans, so, it's going to be a little bit tough, but personally, I think that if I finish well enough, I could be in contention for the championship. This is obviously my rookie season here, so, I kind of want to just get used to things. Today's my first race. I just really want to get the hang of things, but, hopefully I can be a contender, even this season. Who knows how good I'll do, Watkins is a tough track of mine, so I'll probably put in the practice, and hopefully I should be good there. And, who knows, maybe I can go 2 in a row if everything goes right.
All right, one more question I do have to ask. What exactly happened between you and Deed coming into the pit stops that brought that caution around lap 90 or so? Because from my perspective, it looked like the two of you sent too much speed into the pit lane entry, and it sent both of you off. But was it that, or did something else happen? Because you both went off in the exact same spot in pretty much the exact same way.
Yeah, that's really exactly what happened. We carried too much speed in, and, we were trying to get out ahead of everyone, and, just carried too much speed in, but, it helped us. I guess it helped us. I don't know. But, yeah, that's really what happened. Just underestimated it, and, yeah, that's really what happened.
All right, well, with that in mind, that will pretty much wrap up our broadcast here from Miami. A very, very chaotic and crazy race in the final half after a very interesting strategy run race in the first half. But in a week's time, you'll see us come down to Watkins Glen for the first road course. No, that's 2 weeks' time we'll go to Watkins Glen. Next week is tour. I forgot about that. But in 2 weeks' time, you'll see us come down to Watkins Glen for the first road course race of the season. I fully anticipate to start seeing a different group of drivers near the head of the field there. But until then, I've been your host, Insane Leader 13. Thank you very much for joining us today. Farewell and goodbye, everyone.